What's your go-to comfort food? So when I'm cooking, I like to cook things that remind me of home, remind me of family. I make a lot of Mexican food, flour tortillas I make from scratch. I love making mole. It's not complicated, but it's precise, and it requires you to be present in the activity of cooking, and it really allows you to sort of experience the joy of making something by hand. What is your favorite movie or TV show? My favorite movie continues to be Gosford Park. I love that movie. It's a movie that turns out to be a mystery that you don't know is a mystery until you're most of the way through it. I love that it has a kind of both aesthetic and a pragmatic component to it. What hobbies or interests do you have outside work? I like to travel. I'm learning Portuguese. I'm taking full advantage of Duolingo as an opportunity to gamify my learning of Portuguese. One of the things I love is the water. So coming to Tampa, it's very exciting to me that I can see the water. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? So I'm a Renaissance scholar. One of the things I teach is Shakespeare, and one of the plays I therefore teach is Hamlet. There is a character in Hamlet, Polonius, who is a foolish counselor. He gives terrible advice, and it has a lot to do with what happens in Hamlet. But one of the things that he says that I think Shakespeare does agree with and that I find useful is to thine own self be true. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why? It would be Shakespeare. Just a person who single-handedly had the largest vocabulary of any contemporary, who did more to change how we think about what it means to be human. I would have dinner with Shakespeare. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go and why? Okay, I have a long list. I have not been to Barcelona yet. I would like to go to the Galapagos Islands. I've been to Japan, but I would like to go back. I've lived in Israel, I've lived in France, I've lived in England. I'm not done, is what I would say. But one of the places that I always want to go is places that have water, which is another reason, to go back to my earlier answer, that I'm very excited to be here in Tampa because there's a lot of water. If you could instantly learn a new skill, what would it be? I do often think about all the majors that we have that I wish I could take. I look at them and I think this would be the coolest thing ever to learn. So if I could instantly learn, I would probably take 7 or 8 bachelor's degrees in areas that are very far from where I started, and most of which didn't exist even 10 years ago. I would love to be able instantly to learn more languages, including computer languages. Are you a morning person or a night owl? I'm a night owl. I sometimes think there's a third day that happens after 6 p.m., and I try to make the most of my third day. What was your first job? Okay, my very, very first job, I grew up living next door to my grandfather. He had about 5 acres of land. One summer, we were desperate to have some spending money. My parents didn't believe in allowances. I think they thought that you should do your chores regardless of whether or not they paid you. But my grandfather was a little bit of a soft touch when it came to grandchildren. My very first job, therefore, was going around his 5 acres of land and deadheading all of the daffodils, for which he paid us 1/3 of 1 penny for every daffodil that we cut off. I was stunned at the end that he didn't really want to count them with us, but that was my first job. What's the one interesting fact about you that most people don't know? I have a twin sister. That's probably I have a lot of sisters, but I also have one of those is a twin sister. I think most people don't know that about me. It does give me a different perspective on the world in some important ways. If you could time travel, would you go to the past or the future? I think that you would go to the past to understand who you are, where you came from, what cultural values you have. Even though I am a cultural historian who studies the 17th century, and it might be interesting to see the people I read, the things I work on, I'm picking the future because I like to know how the story turns out. What's the most exciting part about joining our college? I love the arts and sciences. It is the largest, most intellectually heterogeneous unit on campus. The difference between English, history, philosophy, Russian, physics, statistics, mathematics, biological sciences, chemistry is vast, and yet there is a strand that connects all of these, and that strand really is a willingness to learn things you don't know before, and a willingness to ask why. We're why people in the College of Arts and Sciences. I also have been thinking about the University of South Florida for almost 10 years now, and I'm so excited at the way in which the University of South Florida has achieved on its mission in breathtakingly impressive ways. The AAU recognition is transformational and extraordinarily well-deserved. What's one piece of advice you would give to students embarking on their college journey? I'm going to have two pieces of advice. The first one is, we are not wrong about you. We have admitted you because we know that you can thrive and succeed here. And you should know that you belong here. So that's the first piece of advice, is to take confidence in the fact that we are right. The second piece of advice I would give you is, the future is uncertain. And the only certain thing about the future is that it's going to be different than now. It's okay, therefore, when you are in college, to learn something you don't already know. You are going to have an instinct sometimes to play it safe and to be conservative, but you will get more out of college if you are willing to learn the things that you don't yet know. Done.